I'm Greg Effinger. Today I'm painting with artist Ann Feldman. Ann's work has always fascinated me. Okay, classic first question.
Okay.
What drew you to painting as a young artist?
Well, I've always drawn. I've always been interested in art ever since I was little. Growing up in New Orleans, there's a lot of culture down there. There's a lot of art. There's a lot of beautiful nature. And we moved a lot. And it was my way of expressing myself and kind of entertaining myself, really. My friends, the friends that I was drawn to, were always artsy. And we just did it. One thing kind of led to another, and I thought, oh, maybe I should think about making a career out of this. But I'm what you get when you marry a doctor and a professor. You get a lot of academics, you get a lot of thou shalt work very hard and make your way in the world. So art was not really an option for me, but it was a pastime. So I also grew up outside riding horses quite a lot. I went up through the pony club and did hunting and jumping and all that kind of stuff. And I drew horses constantly. I was enamored with their conformation and how they're just a beautiful ballet animal. And I constantly just drew horses. But it was never considered anything serious. Yeah, they're getting a twofer today, Greg. We're doing a still life and a landscape. It's both.
So I went and did a little extra research on the atelier.
Mm-hmm.
That's very fascinating in itself. So arts, what I understand is that art schools nowadays, universities and art schools focus on creativity, concept, self-expression, and experimentation.
Yes, it's been that way since the 60s, really.
Yeah,
yeah.
While ateliers traditionally focus on observation, craftsmanship, draftsmanship,
yes,
technical mastery.
Yes. So and I felt comfortable in that world. That was my world.
And is that how you teach now too?
Yes, I taught in ateliers in Chicago, all ages, all kinds, and I felt that it was great for my art as well to be able to verbalize what it is that I'm trying to paint. So to put your paintings into words helped me immensely. I think I got more out of it than anybody did, the teaching. And being an academic, the way that I am, I approach things academically. So I did a lot of research, and I went to school, and I learned the approaches of different masters in different time periods. People have approached painting in many of the same ways and yet differently, with different eras of painting. The Impressionists come to mind, where they kind of blew everything up. But at the same time, they didn't really blow things completely up. They still had to have draftsmanship underneath it all. It still has to have structure. It still has to make sense. But where they really sort of separated themselves from what came before was through color. There were new colors that were available to them. There was never such a thing as lavender before, because they were mixing colors from a very limited palette. Then all at once this explosion of color happened through science, and they were able to pursue new techniques. I love the way the sunlight is hitting this valley, and the shadows are constantly changing.
I gotta decide on something.
What are we gonna put in that? I don't know. I'm kind of putting in a background color, and then I'll just decide what to do with it. The beauty of plein air painting, right? It's like always changing, always keeping us on our toes. but I felt comfortable in that world of study and learning, and I tried to impart that when I taught, that it's exciting and it's fun and it's beautiful. The thing about teaching is that it takes a lot of time. And when I was in Chicago, I ended up spending a lot of time teaching, which I loved. But when I moved out here to Steamboat, I thought, okay, I'm going to start painting my own stuff now and kind of step away from that. And so I've made a lot of time for painting. And living in Steamboat, God, there's something every day. You just can't not find something to paint here.
Yeah.
You can try, but you can't. I kind of think of myself as sort of a journeyman. I'm out there painting almost every single day.
Wow.
Yeah, even on weekends, you'll find me in the studio. I'm doing it because even for a couple hours, because I need to feel connected to art. It grounds me and it makes me feel right about myself. But I also think that it's what makes my painting me, is that I've done the miles of canvas, and that's all I really care about. That's why we're artists and not something else. I don't know. But it is the chase. It's the chase. It's the, I know what I want to do. I know where I want to be. I just got to try to figure out how to get there. And that's the beauty and the joy and the frustration and the the agony of painting.
So how much of your painting do you think was planned out when you first were looking at it, and how much of it is being discovered as you go?
When I approach a painting, I think about, what am I going to try to convey?
Aha, okay.
That's really what I'm after. Then it's just a matter of figuring out how to get there. But the overall impression is what I try to keep with me. I used to put a Post-it note up. I'd think of 5 words, gloomy, muted color, temperature, what's going on, birds singing, what's happening. And then, and then I'd have it, yeah, there are birds singing. And then I would have that sort of in my conscious thought process while I'm painting. And that's kind of how I approach, is where, what's the final goal first? And then it's just a matter of standing back and hoping that it happens.
So you okay with people referring to your work as impressionistic?
Yes.
What does that mean to you, impressionistic?
Impressionistic means you're trying to convey, to me, maybe this wasn't the original intent, but you're trying to convey an impression of what you're seeing in the moment without getting too bogged down by details. It's all about trying to convey an emotion. However, I will say that when I am studio painting, I have a tendency to go into a little more detail than I would typically like. And that's why I try to balance it with a lot of plein air painting. Once I dig into a detail, for instance, if I'm painting a horse, the conformation of the horse, oh my gosh, I could just go crazy on that. And I love drawing. It's my foundation. And so I have to kind of say, okay, Ann, drawing's good and everything, but let's not just make that about the drawing. Let's make it about the emotion. And, Impressionism was supposed to be a condescending term by the academics of the day, who you just did an impression of what you're painting. But now we've embraced that as the end goal. A quick impression. If the viewer can see and feel, more importantly, feel what you were feeling at that time, then that is the goal to me.
What was your vision when creating the Alley Gallery?
Oh, it's a wonderful question. Jill and I wanted to find a place that would accomplish a few goals. First and foremost, we needed a place to work in Steamboat, and we wanted a place to show our work. So I guess that would be number one. Number two is we believe it's important for other artists to have a venue, to have some wall space to show their work, and it's not easy to find, as you know. It's not cheap and it's not easy. And we want to give people an opportunity to show their work in town. So every month we have a new artist showing their work in our gallery. And we love that. We love that part of it. We're always looking for ways to use art as a voice to express how important our environment is. And what we find beautiful, we want to express to other people so that they can see how precious it is. And so that's just another thing that we do. It's been a great working relationship. But this is the next step in my art journey, I guess, is learning the business of art. Running a gallery and a studio with customers, you know. It's not the same as just being in my studio and painting on my own and then coming out when I feel like it. It's a different thing.
What role should galleries in Steamboat play?
Well, galleries are doing business with two kinds of people. We're doing business with residents, people who live here, and people who are vacationing here and want to have a nice memory. And I think that expressing and selling what makes Steamboat unique is a really nice thing. And to support the people who are trying to express that.
After all the paintings and all the teaching and all the years in the studio, what do you think you understand about painting now that you couldn't have understood when you first started? I thought that was a really exciting question.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I think that what I've learned is that, not to sound like a broken record, but the fact that talent is overrated. That, yeah, I found in my teaching, if a person feels, sometimes a person will feel that they're talented or other people tell them they're talented, then they can sometimes expect too much of themselves too soon. And they actually end up faltering because of that. What I've learned is that devotion to your craft, if you will, to developing your skill, to putting in the miles is really what makes a great artist. And it's not really based on what your God-given talent is, but it's what you do with it. And I've seen many artists who start out not really knowing much at all about anything, but they're willing to put in the time and the dedication, they're willing to study and really work at it. They're the ones who don't have the big expectations, but they end up being the successful ones because they don't expect too much in the beginning.
I'm a little worried about kids these days that don't have the, I think my superpower as a kid was boredom.
Yes, me too. Me too. I agree 100%. And that boredom is what makes, I think, the best artists, because you have to make do with what you have, right? You're creating things. I couldn't agree more.